On December 12, 2025, as the first light of dawn broke over the horizon, Filipino fishermen near Sabina Shoal prepared for another day at sea. For generations, these waters have been their lifeblood, a place where fathers taught sons the rhythms of the tides and the secrets of the catch. That morning, the fishermen set out as usual, unaware that their routine would soon be shattered by an unexpected threat lurking just beyond the horizon. Their small wooden bancas bobbed gently on the calm waters, nets cast wide in hopes of a good haul. The sea was peaceful, echoing with the sounds of laughter and the hum of engines, as families worked side by side, continuing a tradition that had endured for decades. But the peace was shattered when, without warning, the silhouettes of Chinese Coast Guard ships appeared on the horizon. The vessels moved with purpose, heading straight for the unsuspecting Filipino fleet, their presence casting a shadow of fear and uncertainty over the fishermen. Suddenly, chaos erupted. The Chinese ships unleashed high-pressure water cannons, sending powerful jets of water crashing into the fragile wooden boats. The force splintered wood, tore through fishing gear, and sent fishermen scrambling for cover, desperately trying to shield themselves from the relentless assault. The attack was relentless and calculated, designed not just to damage boats, but to intimidate and drive the fishermen away from their ancestral fishing grounds. The air was filled with shouts, fear, and the deafening roar of water cannons as the fishermen clung to their battered vessels. As if the water cannons weren't enough, Chinese ships maneuvered dangerously close, cutting anchor lines and blocking any escape. Several Filipino boats were left adrift, powerless against the massive steel hulls that hemmed them in, their crews stranded and vulnerable in open water. In the chaos, 3 fishermen were injured, some struck by debris, others thrown by the force of the water. The Philippine Coast Guard rushed to help, but their rescue boats were blocked and harassed by the Chinese vessels, making every attempt to reach the wounded a dangerous gamble. After a tense and nerve-wracking standoff, the Coast Guard finally broke through the blockade, reaching the battered fishing boats and providing urgent medical aid to the injured. The rescue was a small victory in a sea of uncertainty. In the aftermath, Commodore J. Tariella addressed the nation and the world, condemning the Chinese actions as a reckless and dangerous threat to civilian lives. His words echoed the outrage and fear felt by the fishing communities and the entire country. The Sabina Shoal incident was more than just a confrontation at sea. It was a stark reminder that these waters, once a source of life and livelihood, have become a battleground where the struggle for sovereignty and survival plays out every day. The South China Sea is a vital artery for global trade, a sprawling expanse of blue that connects continents and economies. Every day, countless ships crisscross these waters, carrying everything from electronics and clothing to oil and food. This patch of ocean is not just a route, it's the lifeblood of international commerce, linking factories in Asia to markets around the world. The sea is bordered by countries like Vietnam, Malaysia, and the Philippines, each with its own unique culture, history, and economic ambitions. These nations depend on the South China Sea not only for trade, but also for their livelihoods and security. It's not just open water. Hundreds of islands, reefs, and atolls dot the region, many of them uninhabited but fiercely contested. These tiny specks of land are at the heart of some of the world's most heated territorial disputes, with multiple countries staking overlapping claims. Over a third of global shipping worth trillions of dollars passes through here each year. The sheer volume of goods moving through these lanes is staggering, making the South China Sea one of the busiest maritime highways on the planet. Any disruption, whether from conflict, piracy, or political standoffs, could send shockwaves through the world economy, causing delays, shortages, and price spikes that would be felt far beyond Asia. Beneath the waves lie vast reserves of oil and natural gas, resources that are increasingly valuable as global demand rises. Control of these waters means access to energy that could power cities and fuel industries for generations. For countries like the Philippines, these resources are more than just numbers on a balance sheet. They mean energy security, jobs, and the promise of prosperity for millions of people living along the coast. For China, the stakes are even higher. Securing fuel for its massive, rapidly growing economy is a top priority, and access to the South China Sea's resources is seen as essential for the nation's future. The South China Sea is also one of the world's richest fishing grounds, providing a vital source of protein and income for millions of people. The bounty of these waters supports bustling seafood markets and entire communities across Southeast Asia, but overfishing, environmental pressures, and intense competition have made these waters a flashpoint. At places like Sabina Shoal, Rival fishing fleets and coast guards often find themselves in tense standoffs, each side determined to protect its interests. Here, economic survival, national pride, and the quest for resources collide, turning the South China Sea into a zone of constant tension and uncertainty, a place where the stakes are as high as the waves themselves. The December water cannon attack was just one in a series of escalating confrontations. Throughout 2024 and 2025, Chinese Coast Guard and militia vessels repeatedly targeted Philippine boats near disputed shoals. High-pressure water cannons have become China's weapon of choice, damaging ships and injuring crews without firing a shot. Physical collisions are also common, with Chinese ships aggressively blocking or ramming smaller Philippine vessels. In one incident, a sailor lost a finger. In another, a ship was nearly capsized. Each encounter raises the risk of a deadly miscalculation. The Philippines has responded by increasing patrols and monitoring Chinese movements, but the pattern of escalation continues. Every incident pushes both countries closer to the brink. The South China Sea is now a stage for dangerous brinkmanship. China's strategy isn't just about force, it's about changing facts on the water. In September 2025, Beijing declared a massive nature reserve at Scarborough Shoal, a move seen as a political power play. The Philippines protested, calling it a thinly veiled attempt to claim the territory and lock out Filipino fishermen. In response, the Philippines joined the US and Japan for joint naval drills in contested waters, sending a clear message to Beijing. These exercises strengthen alliances and show unity against Chinese expansion. For China, such drills are provocative, prompting stern warnings and further escalation. This cycle, Chinese moves, allied drills, and diplomatic protests, now defines the region. The struggle is as much about symbolism and alliances as it is about territory. The South China Sea has become a chessboard of power plays. China claims indisputable sovereignty over nearly the entire South China Sea, marked by its sweeping 9-dash line. Beijing insists its Coast Guard is simply enforcing Chinese law in its own waters, calling Filipino boats intruders. The Philippines, however, grounds its claims in international law, specifically UNCLOS, which grants it rights within a 200 nautical mile exclusive economic zone. Manila sees Chinese actions as illegal incursions and violations of its sovereignty. President Marcos Jr. has condemned China's aggression, vowing not to yield Philippine territory. At the heart of the dispute, two nations, two worldviews, and no easy compromise. The South China Sea dispute has drawn in global powers, especially the United States. For decades, the U.S. has maintained a strong naval presence in these waters, viewing the region as critical to both global commerce and strategic stability. The South China Sea is a vital artery for international trade, with trillions of dollars worth of goods passing through each year. Any disruption here could have ripple effects across the world economy. The U.S. insists on freedom of navigation and is bound by treaty to defend the Philippines if attacked. This commitment is not just symbolic, it's backed by regular joint patrols and military exercises with the Philippine Navy, reinforcing the alliance and sending a clear message to potential aggressors. Recent statements from Washington make clear, an attack on Philippine vessels could trigger U.S. military support. American officials have repeatedly emphasized that their defense commitments are ironclad, and any hostile action in the region will not go unanswered. Japan, reliant on these shipping lanes for its energy and trade, has deepened its security ties with Manila, providing ships and joining joint drills. Tokyo's involvement reflects growing concern over the stability of the region and the need to protect its own economic interests. Other countries, Australia, India, the UK, France, have sent warships to assert international law. Their participation in freedom of navigation operations and multinational exercises demonstrates a shared commitment to upholding the rules-based order at sea. This growing coalition signals that the conflict is about more than territory. It's about the rules that govern the world's oceans. The involvement of so many nations highlights the global importance of the South China Sea and the potential consequences if international norms are ignored. The Philippines' stand is now a test case for global maritime security. Its ability to defend its rights with the backing of powerful allies will shape the future of international law and set a precedent for other contested waters. The stakes are high, and the world is watching. Every move is scrutinized by governments, analysts, and ordinary citizens alike, as the outcome could redefine the balance of power in Asia and beyond. The South China Sea is no longer just a regional dispute, it's a global flashpoint, where the interests of nations converge and the future of international order is being tested. In 2016, the Philippines won a landmark legal victory at The Hague, with an international tribunal ruling China's 9-dash line had no basis in law. The court declared areas like Sabina Shoal part of the Philippine EEZ, making China's actions there illegal. For Manila, this ruling is the foundation of its case and a validation of its rights. China, however, rejected the verdict, calling it null and void and refusing to participate in the process. This legal standoff is at the heart of the conflict: law versus power. The Philippines points to international law. China relies on its might. Until this gap is bridged, the dispute remains in deadlock. As 2025 ends, the South China Sea is at a crossroads. One path leads to more military buildup, joint drills, and the risk of a clash spiraling out of control. Another path is a slow war of attrition, gray zone tactics, administrative moves, and constant tension. Yet, there's still hope for diplomacy. Both sides have reasons to avoid war, and talks continue behind the scenes. A code of conduct could reduce risks, even if it doesn't solve the core dispute. True peace would require compromise and respect for international law, especially from China. Joint resource management and environmental cooperation could turn conflict into opportunity. The future of the South China Sea depends on choices made now. Will it remain a flashpoint or become a model for shared prosperity?